I, 24F, have been dating my boyfriend Jake, 26M, for a little over a year. Things are mostly good between us, but sometimes his sense of humor crosses a line. He loves to joke around and be the center of attention, and while that can be fun, it doesn't always land, especially in more professional settings. This past weekend, I invited him to dinner with my coworkers. It was a small celebration because I recently got promoted, and a few managers and team leads I respect a lot were there. I specifically asked Jake ahead of time to keep things polite and not make any off-color jokes. He laughed and said, "What do you think I'm going to do, roast your boss?" I said no, but just please read the room and keep things light. At first, things were fine. He made small talk and a couple of awkward jokes, but nothing terrible. Then the waiter came to take dessert orders. I was planning to order something when Jake interrupted and said, "Oh, she doesn't need dessert, she's already sweet enough. And she's trying to fit into that dress next weekend, remember?" He winked at me like he had just said something clever. I was mortified. The table went silent. I felt completely exposed. I never said I was trying to fit into any dress. I don't even know what he was referring to. And making a comment about my body or weight, joking or not, in front of my coworkers felt incredibly inappropriate. I laughed it off in the moment, but inside I was furious. When we got to the car, I told him what he said was humiliating and crossed a line. He immediately got defensive and said I was overreacting, that it was a joke and everyone knew that. He said I was being too sensitive and accused me of trying to make him feel bad for lightening the mood. I told him I didn't want to talk to him and that he could find his own way home. He thought I was bluffing until I pulled over and told him to get out. It was about a 25-minute walk, not super far, and he had his phone and wallet. It wasn't late or unsafe. He eventually got out, but now he's telling people I left him on the side of the road over a joke. Some of our mutual friends think I was harsh and should have just talked to him later. Others say he needed to be called out. Jake still refuses to admit he was out of line. So now I'm wondering if I overreacted in the heat of the moment and should have handled it more calmly. It wasn't life-threatening, but maybe it was petty. Then again, I felt completely disrespected. Comment 1. NTA. He made an ass out of you and himself in a professional setting, and then gaslit you to hell when you called him out for it privately. You were absolutely right to kick him to the literal curb. Imagine if your boss took it personally and fired you over his behavior. His immaturity could have cost you your job. Comment 2. NTA. Although it sounds like it didn't do him any good lol. Even if Jake felt like his comment was harmless, and that comment is disrespectful/rude in any context, he really should have clued in by now that he should just apologize. Refusing to admit he was out of line feels childish and inconsiderate. Having a partner who roots for you to win and wants you to succeed and tries to help you shine is the best. Not someone who undercuts you for a bit when it matters. This guy doesn't sound mature enough to be that yet, or ever. Story 2. Asking my grown adult child to please not smoke marijuana at my vow renewal? I am going to start this by saying that my daughter has been smoking for a very long time as she knows how I feel about it and she knows that the smell bothers me. We do live in a state where it is legal for 21 plus behind closed doors on private property not in close proximity to minors. When I go to her home, I smell it, but I don't say anything to her about it because it's her space. She can do what she wants, but my husband and I don't allow it in our house, so she almost never comes over because she knows I'll say something if I smell it on her or her kids, my grandkids. Next month my husband and I are having an anniversary party/birthday celebration. Both of us turn 40 this year, as well as a vow renewal. We had a courthouse wedding right before COVID, so we never got a chance to celebrate with our friends and family like we wanted to, so we decided to do one big celebration now. When we first started discussing what we wanted, I said I would like it if our kids were able to stand with us during our renewal. I have my daughter, his son, and our daughter together. I asked the kids if they were open to do that with us and they all agreed, and so we made plans and had discussions about what I would like them to wear and what not. Last week, I called my daughter to confirm that she had everything under control as far as what she was going to wear, including accessories, and during our conversation I had made the request that her and her husband refrain from smoking while at the park we're having the party at. She became very upset and started to yell at me, asking if I was planning on restricting anyone from drinking alcohol, and my response was that we are not providing any alcohol to anyone, so if they bring it and drink it I can't stop them. She then told me that she doesn't know how long she will be staying then if she won't be allowed to even go to her car to smoke. Again, it's not even legal to use in public spaces like the park. My husband works for the police department and he's invited a few of his friends from work, so there's that as well. So am I the a-hole for asking her to refrain from smoking for one day? Comment 1. NTA, I'm a huge stoner and am almost constantly high for reference. It's your event. You can for sure ask people to not smoke at your event. If she needs to be high, there's several options that don't include smoking and causing a scene. She could take edibles, smoke before she gets there, or use a dab pen. They tend to be way less smelly and more discreet in general. Keep your boundaries firm. She can come up with something. Comment 2. NTA. If your daughter can't go by a few hours without smoking, especially for a big, personal event like you describe, then she has a big problem. Especially her whining and comparing it to alcohol, somehow trying to justify herself. I say this as someone who smokes nearly every day, but what you describe is just absurd. There's a time and place for everything. Story 3, not letting my daughter's husband see her after her birth. I, 47F, have a daughter, 24F, named Layla, who just gave birth to her first child. I don't know much, but I know that she and her husband Matt, 27M, have been having issues on what to name their child. Matt wants to name their baby a ridiculous name which I won't specifically name here, but it's a month. And not something like June, May, or April. Something like October with a middle name that's a color, and once again not something like Violet or Scarlet. Meanwhile, Layla wants a more practical name. Because of all this, they have been in marriage counseling, which hasn't have seemed to work. A weeks ago Layla gave birth but had to stay hospitalized because of complications. Right after her birth she was very out of it and wasn't in her right mind. Matt took advantage of this, and when I asked him what they were going to name their baby, he stated the name he wanted. I knew Layla wouldn't like this and that it was supposed to be a joint decision, so I didn't allow him to sign anything, which resulted in him not being able to legally sign off as her father. When Layla woke up she thanked me for it, but Matt has been refusing to see their baby. What was supposed to be a beautiful phase in their life has been spoiled by his family bombarding her with texts and calls. Now I'm starting to think I may have gone too far, since he hasn't seen his baby in weeks. Edit. To be clear, Matt was hours away at the time of Layla's birth. I asked him what they were going to name their baby on call. When I heard his response, I didn't tell him which hospital we were at, so he had no way of coming in and signing anything. Comment 1. Advocating for a mother right before, during and after birth is a noble deed. You knew what your daughter wanted. She confirmed that when she came to. The father not seeing his own kid as a punishment for you and his wife is insane. There is only one R in this story. Comment 2. NTA. He was planning on naming her while your daughter was out of it, although he is the father. That shows he had no care for your daughter's opinion in the first place. I think there's a window for naming the baby and doesn't have to be done right away, and both parties should be present and aware of what their child is named. I hope my mother would stand beside me to make sure I was okay with everything my so was doing if she even thought I'd have second thought. Story 4, telling my fiancé it's the dog or me? I'll preface this by saying I have 3 dogs of my own that came from a previous relationship. All getting older, oldest is 6, and generally calm and well behaved. I absolutely despise my fiancé's dog. This little terror has been absolute chaos in my home since day one. This dog has been living in my home, had the house before I met him. Since then, this dog has chewed up my duvet, my $500 weight blanket, pissed and shit on my floor for the first 5-ish months it lived here, chases, bites, and generally terrorizes my cats, stole a full ribeye steak off my plate as I was trying to eat supper, howls my house down when no one is in the room with it, attacks my dogs, has never done damage, he's small and my dogs are larger breeds, and the grand fucking finale, pissed on my ventilated leather seat, meaning it went through to the foam, in my SUV. He was only in my SUV as my fiancé is working nights and insisted this asshole got groomed today while I dealt with it. My fiancé is acting like it's no big deal and said he, the dog, didn't mean it. I cannot physically do this anymore. I have given him an ultimatum for my own mental health that it's me or this dog. This is my home and I refuse to live in constant stress. He made it very clear to me today that he will not be getting rid of this dog, and his parents would hate me for forcing him to give him away. He told me today that he promises to apparently fix this dog, but I don't believe it. He's had the past 9 months we've been living together to fix things. Where do I go from here? Our relationship is otherwise perfect, but this dog is driving us apart and causes 99.9% of our fights. We have been trying for a baby and I told him today that I will be getting an IUD first thing in the morning because I refuse to have my pregnancy be complete stress over an untrained mutt. Comment 1. NTA. I would be utterly mortified if my dogs did any one of these things in someone's house, let alone their car. If my dogs peed in someone's car, I'd be paying for a rental and professional detailing and treatment to get it fixed. Please get that IUD. If this man can't take responsibility for his dog, then imagine how he'll be with the child. You'll be doing all of the childcare and labor, and having to beg him to help you with his own good kid. I would be so done with this relationship if I were in your shoes. This is so incredibly gross and disrespectful. Not to mention cruel to you, his dog, and the other animals in your care. Comment 2. His small dog has moved into a new house with other animals, larger than him. Completely normal that it would be acting out. It's an incredibly stressful time for a dog and he doesn't understand what's going on. You and your fiancé need to do more to work with the animals and help his dog adjust. That's a responsibility for both of you when you made the decision to move in together.